Welcome to Tell Me Your Story, new paradigms for a new world where we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. We are here 9 times a week, Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m., and Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m., streaming live at all those times at richarddugan.com. We are on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, as well as YouTube, where you can watch these conversations. I hope that you will take time to subscribe and click notifications so that when a new conversation is posted, you'll be notified and you'll be able to tune in, listen in, and learn, be entertained and inspired. A reminder that Choices, which is my book, 5 Steps for Life, it's available on Amazon.com in paperback, hardcover, and Kindle with Audible, soon to be released. We also ask that if you can support the work that we are doing financially, we do have a PayPal account. It is there for your security as well as ours. And when they ask for an email address to whom you're sending, please go to richard@richarddugan.com. That's the email address. If you go to richarddugan.com, there is also a link directly to PayPal so that you can send us whatever support you can. And we thank you to those who have helped and to those who will help. We also ask that you take time during this decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, to go within to that quiet, peaceful, calm, still place and listen to that still, small voice. And with that, we now take you to our very special interview and guest here on Tell Me Your Story. And welcome to Tell Me Your Story. Yes, I am Richard Dugan, Reverend Dr. D, and we have a very interesting program for this particular month, but hey, you can put this into gear for the year if you want to do that. We're going to be talking about a very interesting book and a journey that our guest has been through. This happens to be, as we are speaking right now, National Recovery Month. Well, we'll find out recovering from what? From our guest, Christopher Najera. Thank you so much for being with us here on the program. I think that those who are watching on YouTube have a pretty good idea of what we're going to be talking about. So those who were just listening, keep listening. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me today.
Now, we're talking, of course, here in the month of September, the 9th month of each year, National Recovery Month. And you happen to have written a wonderful book called The Hard Truth Stopping Alcohol. And I'll be the first one to admit that, yes, indeed, I am hoping that this enlightens some folks. I'll be the first to admit, yeah, I have a beer every once in a while, maybe a little celebratory Irish cream with my wife, that kind of thing. But I'm not a big drinker, and yet I know that my relatives, especially on one side of the family, we'd go to family reunions and it was just nonstop. Now, I don't know how many of them were alcoholics or are, or if they've suffered health issues and those kinds of things. I just know that there are times when for pure enjoyment, but I have to wonder if that's really a good reason to be consuming alcohol because of the dangers. I mean, isn't it kind of like throwing gasoline on a spark or a fire?
Well, I always tell everybody this is that, alcohol, I don't push it on anybody, but there's so many dangers to it that nobody really knows. I drank for 34 years. I'm 52 years old. I grew up in a border town here in El Paso, Texas. And it's part of the lifestyle. Hispanic culture is, you drink for every occasion. And at 34 years, I had no idea how dangerous it really was. And it's can be very alarming. And so after I started finding out all the things because of my liver issues, I had started developing liver issues, started drinking on weekends, like everybody. I want to have a break. And then soon enough, around COVID, actually, it started getting every other day. So I developed a liver issue. And that's when I was like, okay, well, I'm doing my research. I want to know about this. And 34 years, I had no idea that, and I ask everybody this, and everybody I ask has no idea. And I ask them when I, talk about my book, and I say, "Do you know how many people die every single year from alcohol-related causes?" And they look at me and they shake their head no. And I said, "It's 3 million people every single year. People die around the
Mm.
world from alcohol-related causes." And now one person I asked it's probably over 50 people now just in El Paso, or more, that don't have no idea. And that's just one. And that's what really kind of ignited the book. It's just to create awareness to let people know what's really going on. And it's been the blinders been put on. Nobody talks about it. It's been grandfathered in as okay. And it's a big major issue that's going on around the world.
Well, what's interesting to me is that, of course, it's been around almost as long as humanity's been around. And for example, in the Bible, Jesus is turning water into wine, which is alcohol. Although I don't know how different it was back then, 2000 or more years ago. But at the same time, there were prohibitions even within the scriptures about drinking, you know. And we're now using science, if you will, to verify what you're talking about. What was it? What was the main catalyst? Not in terms of your wanting sobriety, but in terms of your deciding, I've made it through the hardest part. I need to share this with others, and I'm going to write a book. Maybe not even having a title at that point, but in this case, it's stopping alcohol.
Yep, yeah, and it has been, all over, even in biblical terms. And one of the scriptures that I want to just bring up, and it's actually on my book,
Hmm.
is 1 Peter 5:8, which says, "Be sober, be vigilant, for the devil, the adversary, is out like a roaring lion, looking for whom he may devour." So yes, they drank wine in the biblical times, but it also, it's the dangers are there, and he references it as evil, as something that can take your life. So going to my decision in really wanting to write the book was that I had transformed my mind to this addiction, and I couldn't stop at the end. I couldn't stop. And being in rehabilitation and outpatient, I would talk to other people, and they would tell me the same thing. They would say, "You know what? I would just drive to the liquor store and buy liquor and not even want to." And that's when I really ignited the real true meaning of, okay, I'm sober now. I'm about 3, 4 months in. I've learned all this research. Yeah, there's other books out there, but nothing like this book. This book really created some hard, interesting facts, which is why I called it the hard truth stopping alcohol. It's hard truth, raw. It was not AI. It was not ghost written. It was me waking up at 3 a.m. in the morning, putting everything I was learning on paper and typing it out at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what did it. It's a raw book. It's very genuine. It's my experiences and everything that helped me, and that's what really ignited it. That's what really I was like, you know what? I have to put this in a book. I really feel it needs to get out there. I'm going to try, and I'm going to spend the next rest of my life pushing this and letting people know, because nobody really knows about it.
Yeah, it's it can be insidious. I think that when we begin to better understand, especially through your book, which is unique in and of itself. It mixes unfiltered honesty, practical strategies, and powerful insights that speak directly to moderate and heavy drinkers who are tired of the cycle. And that is the big thing that a lot of people don't seem to realize at first, and eventually, like you, they came to realize that. And of course, now you have the hard truth stopping alcohol. And I've asked this question in this context in the past in interviews where we're talking about addiction, because that's what it is. It's an alcohol addiction in this case. Um, I remember hearing this comment about addictions in general. that an addiction is not about that which you are addicted to. The root of addiction, and I again, I'm not, I want your perspective on this, your observation. Addiction is truly about a lack of connection with community, if you will. That for whatever reasons we disconnect from the people around us, and we use these substances and sometimes activities, for that matter, to sublimate the lack of connection. What are your thoughts in that regard, in terms of an overall understanding of what addiction is really all about?
So the connection that my personal experience, which I base it, I'll answer my question, is that in outpatient, they would ask me, okay, Chris, you need to dig really deep as to why do you feel you drink so much? Why is it that you're drinking? You have to dig deep to really uncover, because that's where the true part of recovery starts. And it does go with a lot of people is there's trauma in people's lives. There's things where people try to numb themselves to forget. There's reasons for they want to drink. And the fact of the matter is this: the more you continue to drink, you're actually reducing the dopamine in your mind. It actually hijacks your mind to where you become more addicted. And
Mm.
so it's going the addiction process and how it works is very different for everybody. It's a unique journey for each individual. Just because I had liver issues and I had to stop, right? But all the things I researched helped me. Someone may have had childhood trauma that they're trying to hide and they're drinking. You need to go and attack those things first and understand why you're drinking so much. And once you get to the why and really uncover those whys, that's when the true recovery begins. And you can say, okay, I need to get through this first, and this is why I'm drinking so much. So that's really where I feel the addiction process really starts. And it could be repetition, and it's been proven scientifically that repetition of continuously drinking is something that actually damages the mind, and it actually damages your liver. Your liver will actually send impulses and chemistry and releases these addictions as well. So it's your mind and body that are working together. And the more you consume it, the more addiction sets in. That answers your question, yes.
And you have a program, if you will, that takes 30 days in terms of getting started. And we're going to talk about that as we continue talking with our very special guest, the author of The Hard Truth, Stopping Alcohol, Christopher uh, Najera. And we're going to continue here on Tell Me Your Story. We're talking about this month, September 2025, is National Recovery Month. Is it exclusive to recovering from alcohol or just recovering from addiction? Is that what we're really kind of focusing on? Although your story focuses around alcohol.
Right. I think, alcohol and addictions kind of fall in the same category. There's different avenues for addictions, like Narcotics Anonymous for drugs and street drugs. There's Alcoholics Anonymous. So the book is designed for alcohol use disorder, which
Hmm.
is now considered alcoholism has transitioned over to alcohol use disorder, more of a mental disorder now. That's what it has become. And people talk about the disease aspect. Well, really, what is it? But it's a mental use disorder, it's an alcohol use disorder, which is a mental disorder. And the book was designed for anybody with an alcohol use disorder. Now, you can go through those 30 days in your addiction and try those 30 days using your addiction, whether it be cocaine, opioids, and go through those steps of the 30 days and just transition that alcohol verbiage to your addiction. And it can work the same. Breakdown of really getting your relationship and understanding your relationship with those types of addictions.
What are your thoughts in regards to 12-step programs such as AA?
That is a strong question, and I do promote Alcoholics Anonymous in my book. And my book is an all-in-one resource. So it's every resource you can imagine, where I'm going to talk about smart recovery. I'm going to talk about AA recovery. I'm going to talk about people that just don't go to church or do go to church and find their ways through church and for recovery. So I really break it down to where it's you talk about the 12 steps, you talk about things in my book, but I do promote the 12 steps because why? It's been around since the 1930s and late 30s, and it's helped millions and millions of people, and it's a something that is traditionally worked for millions of people. So if it's worked for millions of people, there's no reason why it wouldn't work for somebody else. But I give that option, and I do talk a lot about AA in my book. I tell the Bill Wilson story in there. I talk a little bit about that, and researched it all. So I do promote the 12 steps. I think they're very useful. I think they work if you work it, as they say in AA, but that's not everybody's journey, and not everybody wants to go through the 12 steps. And if you don't want to go through the 12 steps, you don't have to. There's other ways to do it. Some people just do it cold turkey and stop and go to church and find their spiritual relationship, and that helps them.
Yeah.
And some people go through smart recovery, which is a different type of recovery. Some people go through counseling. There's different avenues, but I do promote 12 steps. Because why? Because it's helped millions of people around the world.
Mm. Well, I know that, again, growing up in the family that I grew up in, my father was not a big drinker. And one of the things that I thought was interesting was, and I knew this was going on because they shared this with us. My father had a couple of good friends that we referred to as uncles. And they would go out into the desert once every couple of years or so just to get away, do some camping. They might even, as far as I know, instead of the desert, they might go to a lake. And they'd have their cooler filled with beer, and so forth. And they were just out there enjoying themselves. But my father never drank. I mean, I'm thinking if he had one, it was maybe once every couple of 3 weeks, and it was only like, one can. And his favorite was Coors. Um, but on the other side of the family, there was a lot more going on in that regard. And I often wondered about not just the side effects, but the aspects of sometimes what happens is, you have mean drunks, for example, and you have the domestic abuse, the domestic violence, and that type of thing. That's another aspect of this whole addiction cycle. They go through, they consume, then they get all bent out of shape, and then they get violent physically, maybe if not verbally. And then when they sober up, they apologize. Oh, I'll never do it again. And it just keeps going round and round and round. And I'm wondering, in terms of the process that those who are dealing with an alcoholic, someone who is addicted, if you will, and these kinds of behaviors, and wanting to stand with them to help them, but if I'm correct, they cannot help that person until that person wants help, really
Right.
wants help.
So that's really something that I dive into in my book as well. It's a spiral effect, and it's a spiral downhill. Okay, it spirals down to your rock bottom. And to answer you, the threshold of pain has to be greater than the reward in any addiction. When the threshold of pain is greater, then that's when normally you hit your rock bottom. And
Mm.
rock bottom is different for everybody. Rock bottom can be I lost my family. For rock bottom can be I lost my job. I went to jail. I got DWI. Every rock bottom is different for everybody. But I will say this: it is a progressive disease, and I use the word disease because that's what term that most people have always said about it. But
Mhm.
it's a use disorder, okay, and it's a mental disease where it depletes your mind's dopamine and serotonin, and that's when the addiction sets in. But it's a process, and it spirals downhill to those rock bottoms, to those thresholds of pain that are worse. Some people could be, I got a DWI. I had to spend a week in jail, and I'm done. Or it could be I got in a fight with my best friend, and I destroyed the inside of my house, and I'm done. The threshold of the pain and what you feel is your pain is different for everybody, but it is a progressive disease, and the blackouts start happening. It shrinks your mind. Your gray and white matter start to shrink with alcohol. It takes 26 years of your life by consuming it regularly. Those are just facts that I have in the book. Like I say, the hard truth. It's going to be everything in there that you're saying. So it is a spiral downhill, and it's different for everybody. But the threshold of pain has to be greater than the reward, and that's when everything starts to change for that individual.
Do you know why September was selected as a National Recovery Month?
I don't know. I like to think because it was my birthday month, and God put it down.
Okay, we'll go with that.
Hey, I'm on a mission, and I think God knows it. I always say, as much as I drank, I'm lucky to be alive. I mean, I was a whiskey and beer guy, and I would be on my fourth beer by the time someone was barely finishing their half beer. So I did have a problem, but I don't know. I think I'm on a mission, and September is a good month. I think it's because I think it's another reason why they had it in September is because the summer's kind of ending, and a lot of people in the summertime, 4th of July, all these months, there's heavy drinking going on. There's a lot of things going on. I feel that this is the time of year that most people start having those problems and those issues around this time of year, going into the holiday months. And it's a good time to take a break. Sober October is just a month that everybody takes a break, and I feel it's right before the holidays. You need to take a break. You're drinking a lot. You need to see your relationship with it, and then you have, of course, dry January. Usually, I feel it's set up because of right after the holidays. From everybody drinking so much, they need a break. So it's Sober October before the holiday season, which everybody drinks a lot of, and then you have dry January, which is right after the holidays. So I think it's kind of designed in that aspect where they try to make it around those times of years because of those reasons.
Chris Najera is my guest. It's the hard truth, ladies and gentlemen, and it is a hard truth. Stopping Alcohol. That's the title of his book as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. We're talking about something that they tried, I think, about 100 years ago in this country. They tried prohibition, and it didn't work. What is your hope in regards to our relationship to alcohol going forward as a society? Individually, obviously, I know that, and I want to get into some of the steps that you talk about, but on a national level, we got to keep it that way because we can't dictate to the other countries. What is your hope in regards to our relationship with alcohol?
So I think the main thing with alcohol is that we need to understand that um, it's down about 13%. They're saying 13% from previous years. And I think there's a couple of reasons for that. And one of it is there is more awareness going around about it. There's more people talking about it. You also have the states that have turned legal with marijuana, and more people are turning towards marijuana. But I did partake in some drinking and marijuana. I'm in a state that's not legal, but I would say this, that it's still, I don't like to rely on a vice. I like to be sober minded. I like to feel what has been created in my body and what I have been given at its full potential. Because when you have a substance or something that you rely on, it's going to hinder you to be at your true potential. So I think over the years, and where I wanted to eventually go, is that I want those warning labels to be on the packages. I wanted to people to know, like, what is this? They finally did the Surgeon General warnings on tobacco.
Mm-hmm.
They've tried to take it to legislation with alcohol, and all these lobbyist companies push it back. Oh no, and they just keep putting it on the consumer. Drink responsibly.
Yeah.
When in reality is that it is a major issue. It's linked to 7 fatal cancers. And this is stuff that I've researched over, the Lancet medical journals. And again, it's in the hard truth stop now. And I think, that's where I wanted to go is I want people to start realizing, hey, this is something that everybody needs to be talking about at their dinner tables before they even try to consume. and talk about the dangers and what's going to result in it from drinking. And that's where I hope it ends up, is that it's a normal conversation instead of having the blinders up where people don't want to talk about it. And, oh, he's just drinking, he's okay, or I'm drinking, I'm okay. It's not okay. And it needs to be heard. And that's the whole mission behind the hard truth, stopping alcohol.
Is there really any benefit to the beers in particular, that, for example, the light beers versus even those beers that have zero alcohol in them? Is that really an answer in any way, shape, or form?
So there's been a recent study that no amount of alcohol is safe. There was a paradox that used to be say that one glass of wine helps your heart, it thins your blood and helps your cardiovascular, which is false. They have just recently let it out that no amount of alcohol is safe for consumption. It's a poison. It turns acetaldehyde and then aldehyde to acid, which is a straight poison in your system. It's destroying kidneys, it's destroying the liver, and it's causing major mental illnesses as well. To answer your question, for the alcoholic, they try to turn to non-alcoholic beers. For some, it's a slippery slope. 0% alcohols. They say that there's even some alcohol in those beers, but I don't produce it. I don't know, but I do know this is that for me, I don't want that trigger to hit in where I have a sip of alcohol, a non-alcoholic beverage, and then I feel like I want a real one. It triggers something that, so I just stay away completely. I can only speak for myself, but I stay away completely from it. I have a mission to get the facts out, and I'm against alcohol now. The part of my recovery and part of my book does talk about creating a resentment for everything it's done to you in your life. If you've had issues and you've hit those rock bottoms, you got to start creating that resentment. But to answer the question is, I stay away from 0% alcohol. But again, any amount of alcohol is not safe for the human consumption.
Mhm. Well, and of course, everybody has to make their own choice in that regard too. They,
Right.
you know, you can't force someone. And I have to wonder too about some of these facilities, stepping outside of the AA framework. Places, and of course, the more famous ones like the Betty Ford Clinic, for example, which is not just for alcoholics. But what do you think about some of those facilities or the rehab centers? The especially when we hear about rather famous individuals in the entertainment industry going in for rehab, and we've heard the stories of how some they go in, they come out, they go. It's almost like a revolving door for them, where they never really recover from the addiction.
The That's the sad part, and part of my book I do talk about that. And in my outpatient facility, um, they have licensed chemical dependency counselors. They have doctors, and one of the things that really helped me stop and transition my mind to the addiction, because I was hooked and I was on autopilot drinking when I didn't want to drink. And a lot of that autopilot is very common in a lot of alcoholics. And like you say, they go in and then they come out. The one thing that really impacted me and is the medication. I did have to get on some medication that actually helped my dopamine levels and the serotonin levels in my mind, where it was balanced out, where I didn't have the cravings. And I'm off of them now, but for at least the first 6 months to a year, I'm over 2 years sober now, but at least the first 6 months to a year, I was on a medication to try to balance the brain chemistry, because again, it depletes your dopamine, depletes your serotonin, and that's when the addiction process begins. So, do I think these places work? They do in the right facility, and with the right care. But the real challenge and what people need to understand is that you have to want to stop. You have to want to stop. You can't just, okay, everybody wants me to stop, I'm going to try to stop. You have to want it more than anything. You have to have a paradigm shift in your mind. You have to create that paradigm shift to where, okay, I'm going to completely change my mind. Your mind and your heart are 18 inches. You got it. from your mind to your heart. And what I mean by that is you got to have emotion. You got to have emotion. You got to have some sort of will and emotion, and anger, and create some sort of, okay, I'm going to do this. And with that emotion is going to come that start paradigm shift of your thoughts. And you got to start thinking of things differently about alcohol. And that's where the challenge is, because the alcohol has completely triggered that mind to think differently. Your liver craves it, your mind craves it, and it's almost like water and food. And that's how bad the addiction can be. That your mind takes it as it needs it. That's where I'm saying the medication for some people, it can help them stabilize the mind to where you stop those cravings, you stop all the things. And I wish I would have never had to do that. And that's why I created resentment towards alcohol. It's like I say this: if you had a friend that came into your house and stole from you and stole $100 or even some jewelry, would you let them back in your house? No. Would you talk to them again? Probably not. Same thing with alcohol. It's stolen so it's killed so many people's lives. It's destroyed so many things around your life. You got to say, okay, look, I'm done. Or for every individual, again, it's different, like you say. And for everybody, for me, it worked to go into an outpatient facility and get medication to help me actually stop for good.
Chris Najera is my guest, and we are talking about his book, The Hard Truth Stopping Alcohol, here on Tell Me Your Story. One of the other aspects that I've picked up on as we've talked about this, as you've shared, is that you speak about alcohol as if it were a living being, an entity, if you will. It's not just a liquid in a bottle. It's not it's not a noun in terms of personal pronouns, so to speak. Can you explain your perspective? Because your title of your book, The Hard Truth, Stopping Alcohol, as opposed to stopping drinking alcohol, or stopping being an alcoholic, or those types of things. Tell us about your perspective in regards to alcohol.
Well, I think you got to understand that these alcohol companies, they've created a concoction that it's $1 billion industry, and people turn to it all over the world. But it's affecting a lot of people. It's killing a lot of people every single year. 3 million people die every single year, and it's become alcohol, not drinking. It's alcohol, and if you break it down, it's substance that's involved in the drinking. It's alcohol. So that's why I said stopping alcohol, because it's not just the beer, it's not just the wine. It's the alcohol is in all of those. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why when I say the hard truth, stopping alcohol, because everybody that does drink has their one thing. Oh, I like my whatever it is, my whiskey, I like my tonic, I like my gin and tonic. So it's not so much drinking, or I just like a nice spritzer with a little bit of vodka. So I think it's alcohol, and that's why I labeled it alcohol, not so much drinking alcohol. And that's what it really is about, stopping alcohol and helping people. And here's the thing, is that the book is the hard truth facts. And it's not just about the book. It's a tool to help people and guide people get an understanding and fight back against something that's destroyed so many lives. And that's why I created it.
Mm. Now, you have a 30-day plan and you have steps, and it may be self-evident what the first step is. But I want you to tell us in your book, The Hard Truth, what is the first step?
The first step in really is if you're going through the daily affirmations, is you have to want it more than anything. You have to want to stop more than anything. And there it goes in the first day. I tell people, I say, you got to start on day one. It can be either starts today or it starts someday. You
Mm-hmm.
got to start on day one. And the day one is really going to be in writing down. You're going to have a journal. You're going to start writing. And in the book, I have some pages in the back that actually you can write in your journal in the back, or I recommend getting a journal. So it's got all that stuff in there. And the first days within it is you really start analyzing and you start writing down why, the real reasons why you want to take a break. What are the most important things in your life that has alcohol's affected?
Mm.
That's day one, is writing down everything that has affected you to this point, okay, that the alcohol has affected. Okay. And then next to that, I always tell them, write down the most important things in your life: your family, your wife, your job, your children. Those are usually top 4 or 5, right? But what are your most important things in your life? And for the next 30 days, that is going to be your why to take it.
Mm.
That's day one. That's day one, is really breaking it down as, okay, what's the most important things in your life? And I'm stopping from 30 days for that reason.
If it's the hard truth, is there any room for, shall we say, any kind of gentleness, if you will, being kind to oneself? If, let's say, you fall off the wagon and you start over again, and then you start over again, and so forth, or does this have to be that kind of tough love that we hear about?
I think, it's everybody's individual journey, and we always say, if part of recovery is relapse a lot of times for some. I'm thankful I haven't relapsed in 2 years and 3 months now, and I haven't relapsed, and I don't want to. I choose not to put it in my body anymore because I feel so good now. My mind works like it's supposed to work now, I feel. But I always tell myself, if I would have stopped 30 years from now, I mean, if I would stop when I turned 25, 30, imagine the things I would have accomplished. But no, now I'm 52, and I'm suffering some of the repercussions. I
Hmm.
have some of the PAW syndromes, post-acute withdrawal syndromes to this day. Dropping stuff, I fumble a little bit. Sometimes my thoughts don't flow the way they should. So I'm still recovering from the abuse. But I think at the end of the day, it's everybody's individual journey, okay? And you have to want it more than anything to really want to stop. And that's really the basis of answering that question.
Yeah. When I was growing up in my teen years, in my 20s and so forth, even then, I was not a big drinker of anything. And two things. Number one is I don't like being out of control. And especially where we live here in California, we live up in the mountains above Santa Barbara. And if I'm inebriated and there's a wildfire, I'm no good to anybody, including myself. And so that's why that's the main reason I don't like being out of control. But I would have to say that if drinkers of alcohol, regardless of what you call it, wine, beer, etc., were really, really honest about the taste, because I remember when I had my first beer, I think I was 17, 18, something like that. I was with a friend of mine, and I drank it, and I got used to it. But if we were really being honest, it tastes terrible when you first drink it. I had a flagon of scotch that was given to me, and I tried it straight, and it was awful. So I mixed it. Now get me, I understand this is all I had in the house at the time, or in my apartment at the time. I mixed it with 7 Up. Oh my God, that was sacrilege. Just like putting ketchup on a hot dog, I guess.
Yeah.
Uh, and it didn't make it any better, you know?
Uh,
And so I sit here thinking, because there's a certain element of lying to oneself, and this is when you first start consuming any kind of alcohol. Oh no, I'm drinking this, and it's usually peer pressure. It's not because you like it. It's because it's cool or everybody else is doing it or what have you. And that's how it all starts. I mean, nobody, as far as I know, nobody's out there drinking gasoline or diesel fuel or kerosene or any of these others. But from the way you describe it, alcohol is right up there. Again, you've just said it as a poison.
yeah. So here's the to answer that, is that everybody handles, and if you're predisposed to alcohol genetically, I'm going to tell you my experience. You talk about yours, about you not liking the taste. When I was about 9 years old, I snuck a beer out of a ice cooler, and I drank it. I loved it. And I'll tell you why, because it gave me a euphoria. It gave me strength. It gave me that confidence that I didn't realize. And I was 9 years old. And I'm like, I really like this stuff. And so it's different for everybody. And most people chase the alcohol for the euphoria. It's not so much the taste. A lot of people, oh, I like the taste. So I like the taste of beer. Well, but with the taste comes the euphoric aspect of what alcohol delivers, and it goes into the gut and it transforms into chemistry and all that good stuff. But to answer that, not some people hate the taste of alcohol. Some people can't stand the taste of alcohol. But for some people, they don't really care about the taste because that euphoria, the high that it gives you, is what they're really chasing, and that's different for every single person. My fiance, she drinks whiskey, but she didn't care about the taste. She wanted the euphoria. We're both sober, right? But at the time, we've been together over 11 years. But she drank whiskey, and it's not about the taste. Yeah, it was like taking gasoline. We always say this, and then the face would be like, ugh, but it was that it entered your veins, and you're like, okay. But it's not so much the taste. You're chasing the euphoria of it. And that's for the alcoholic, and that's the difference. And that's the sad part, is that these alcohol companies know what they're doing. It's not the taste horrible, but it's the euphoria that people chase, not so much the taste.
Yeah. We're talking with Christopher Najera, and we're talking about his book, The Hard Truth: Stopping Alcohol. And quite honestly, it's interesting as we work our way through towards the holidays and so forth. And obviously, it's going to be all over the place. And everybody, each one of us as individuals, has to make our own choice. I talk about that in my book, Chris, called Choices: 5 Steps for Life. And the first step is making a choice. It's what you got to do. You've got to know what it is that you want. And in this case, as we're talking about alcohol, you have to choose whether the euphoria is more important than, in this case, we'll just call it the sobriety, or in my case, it would be being in control, as much as one can be in control of one's life, as they say. At least you're not inhibited by a substance that is giving you that state of euphoria. So certainly make that choice. And we're going to continue here on Tell Me Your Story. The Hard Truth: Stopping Alcohol. What's the website we want to send people to? I know it's available on Amazon, and they can go there as well. But where would you like people to go in terms of getting in touch with you, finding out more about you and the work that you're doing through the Hard Truth 30-day program, or 30-day steps that you've outlined in your book?
You can find us at thehardtruthaf.com. AF is for alcohol free. It's thehardtruthaf.com. I have my email in there if you guys want to shoot me a question. You have any questions, if you're reading the book, you can do that. We also have a Facebook page with a lot of information. We put stuff out there all the time. It's The Hard Truth: Stopping Alcohol. And those are really the two. We just got into TikTok as well. It's under my name, Christopher Najera. And I'm going to be posting stuff in that as well. So TikTok, Facebook, and as well the Hard Truth thehardtruthaf.com.
Okay. Is it available in Audible, or is that practical in that regard?
It is available on Audible as well, and so you can find the audio version as well. You go to the website, thehardtruthaf.com, and there's links to buy it in English, Spanish. We have it in Spanish translation, and we also have it in Audible as well.
I find it also interesting too, and I know you've done the research on this, that I don't know why people think, especially now, I'm originally from Phoenix, Arizona, my hometown. But even here in California, Central and South Coast, when it gets hot, I never have understood why it is that people thought that drinking a beer when you're hot is supposed to help, when in fact it does just the opposite. It hurts.
Yeah, it dehydrates you. It's one of those things. But cold beer, get a cold beer and the heat. But I just it's the euphoria people chase. They just and so it's become part of the norm. It's the advertising. The advertisement companies, the liquor companies, is they advertise it to make it okay. Celebrity endorsements. all those things. It's on the Sunday football games all day, brought to you by Bud Light, brought to you by Anheuser-Busch, so that's where society has made it okay, made it a norm. And it's been into our subconscious. It's been translated into our subconscious as okay. Why? Because celebrities are endorsing it, and it's become part of society. But it's not okay. So it's one of those things where I'm hoping over the next part of my next chapters in my life that I'm able to get this out there, and it's more people are turning away from it and they're realizing. So because of the problems it's creating, and like you say, the anger and the things that associate problems with alcohol, and some people can drink and some people can't, they say, right? So, but again, it's different for everybody, and I'm really hoping that this will impact a lot of people for the rest of my time.
The commercials that you hear regarding casinos, and the line at the very end is usually gamble responsibly. And I have to laugh every time I hear that because gambling is the complete opposite of being responsible. And I would say the same thing is true when you hear the phrase drink responsibly. It's not possible.
Yeah.
It
A
really
lot,
isn't.
it's not. It's not. I mean, you get Gamblers Anonymous, you get Alcoholics Anonymous. It's because it's that it's all a chemistry too. It's like we chase that dopamine, that high, that excitement. And that's part of recovery. It's trying to find those new excitements, trying to find things that excite you. And so, but yeah, it's drink responsibly, gamble responsibly. But at the end of the day, how responsible? It's up to the individual, it's people and advertisements, they're not actually all accurate. I'll say this: one thing that's going to happen in 2026 for the first time is Ireland is going to be the first country to put warning labels on all their products. So let's see how this goes in 2026. It's going to be warning labels saying that it's linked to cancer, and
Mm.
so it's going to go on all these alcoholic beverages. And Ireland is the first country that is going to launch this.
Well, I hope it does some good. However, at least when they started putting the warning labels on cigarettes, it didn't seem to make a difference. People were still smoking.
Yeah,
They didn't care. But again, that may be due to the same euphoric aspect of the nicotine that was in the cigarettes as well. So let's keep a good thought that there is some positive movement forward. Chris, I want to thank you so much for being a part of what we're doing here on the program to try to change the world, even if it's just a little bit at a time, and for what you're doing to help people who are addicted, who are, in essence, abusing their bodies by consuming alcohol. And I hope they'll get a copy of your book, The Hard Truth Stopping Alcohol. So thank you so much.
thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to be on your show. Thank you.
I have three questions that I ask all of my guests. I want to ask you as well. But before I do, I want to thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World, where we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. We're here on Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m., and Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m., streaming live at all those times at richarddugan.com. We are on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, Blueberry, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music. We're also on YouTube where you can watch these conversations. I hope that you will subscribe as well as click notification. We also ask that you go to Amazon.com, not only for Chris's book, but for my book, Choices, 5 Steps for Life. It's available in the 3 basic formats with Audible soon to be released. And then we hope that you will take some time during the Decade of Perfect Vision, to go within to listen to that still small voice. With those statements and all of that stuff aside, we go to our final 3 questions for a very special guest. The first question is, who is Christopher Najera?
Christopher Najera is a person that is lucky to be alive, because of got in the alcohol trap, starting drinking at a young age because of the border town that I live in. And I'm a person now that have finally found myself and has a mission to help as many people turn away from alcohol. That's who I am right now.
What gets you up in the morning?
What gets me up in the morning is the drive to be a better person, to work to live my best life each day, alcohol free. What gets me up is knowing that I don't have a hangover and feeling great. And what am I? I'm on a different mission, and it's great to wake up without any kind of hangovers at this point. I love it.
Mm. And finally, what was your best day?
My best day was when I woke up and I realized that I had taken off the shackles of alcohol use disorder, and I knew that I was on a different mission. I woke up not hungover, and I knew that my life was going to be different from this point on. I knew it was going to be a new chapter, new experiences. I finally found out who I really was, and it really hit about 1 year. Right at 1 year is when I was just like, wow, this is it. This is who I am. This is where I'm going, and it was an awesome experience.
Wonderful. Well, Chris Najera, I thank you so much for being a part of what we're doing here on Tell Me Your Story. And I thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story. New paradigms for a new world. And until our next broadcast, podcast, videocast, love to all. Jeanette, I'm still listening. Dad, continue to be happy because I am. Smokey, I'll see you on the other side. Mike, thanks for being in my life and letting me be in yours. And to my dear friend Zorro, aho, aho.